Thank you for joining us this evening, Albany City Council meeting, Wednesday, November 6, 2024 at 6 p.m. I now call the meeting to order, and would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Allison, may we have a roll call, please?
Counselor Smith.
Here.
Counselor McGee.
Present.
Counselor Novak. Counselor Newton Azor.
Present.
Counselor Kupczynski.
Here.
Counselor Montague.
Here.
Mayor Johnson II.
Here. Thank you very much. So next on tonight's agenda, let me get to the page, is a quasi-judicial public hearing regarding planning file CP 01-24, ZC 01-24, PA-08-24, and NR-02-24. The proposal for a comprehensive plan map and zoning map amendment together with a partition and a natural resources impact review, specific to one 4.3 acre property inside the city limits. The applicant is Tyler Davido and Amy Bean, and they're represented by Kim Risatelli with Green Cascade LLC. I call to order the public hearing this time at 6:01 p.m. If you wish to testify, there were 3 options available, which are described on the agenda. Do any members wish to declare a conflict of interest? Hearing none. Do any members wish to report an ex parte contact? Thank you. Do any members wish to report a site visit?
Mayor, Your Honor, I can report a site visit 3 times today. I happen to be in the neighborhood picking up campaign signs, but I also live in the neighborhood and I am very familiar with the property from my time as an employee of the city, dealing with code enforcement issues. So I'm very familiar with the property.
Thank you. Do any members wish to abstain from participating in this proceedings? Thank you. Does anyone wish to challenge the city council's right to determine this matter or for the participation of any counselor in this hearing and decision? Thank you. At this time, I'll call for a reading of the meeting procedures. David Martineau.
Good evening. For all those wishing to testify, please be aware that you must raise an issue with enough detail to afford the council and parties an opportunity to respond to the issue if you later want to raise that issue on appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals. Testimony and evidence must be directed towards the approval standards staff will describe or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or development code that you believe apply to the decision. If additional documents or evidence are provided by any party, the City Council may allow a continuance or leave the record open to allow the parties a reasonable opportunity to respond. Any continuance or extension of the record requested by the applicant will result in a corresponding extension to the 120-day limit. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with enough detail to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court.
Thank you. At this time, I call for our staff report from Project Planner Jennifer Sapelli.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Sapello. I'm a planner up in community development. And I bring before you tonight land use cases CP 01-24, a comprehensive plan map amendment, ZC 01-24, a zone amendment, PA 0824, a 2-lot partition, and NR 02-24, a natural resource impact review. The subject property is located at 3016 Grand Prairie Road. The applicant and property owner is Tyler Davidow, who is represented by Kim Richatelli with Green Cascades LLC. The subject property, as it exists today, consists of 4.35 acres and is currently located within the low-density residential comprehensive plan map designation and the residential single dwelling, also known as the RS 6.5 zoning district. The applicant proposes to amend the comprehensive plan map designation of the northern 2.8 acres of the property from low-density residential to medium-density residential. The southern 1.55 acres is to remain within the low-density residential comprehensive plan map designation. The applicant has applied for a concurrent zone amendment to the northern 2.80 acres. The proposal would amend the zoning designation from the residential single dwelling to residential medium density. A partition is proposed along the center line of Periwinkle Creek. This would create two parcels, with parcel 1, the northern parcel, consisting of approximately 2.8 acres, and parcel 2, the southern parcel, consisting of 1.55 acres. Parcel 1 will maintain direct access to Grand Prairie Road, and parcel 2 will maintain access to Mountain View Drive via an existing 24-foot wide access and utility easement. The subject property is located within the riparian corridor, which extends 50 feet horizontally from the edge of Periwinkle Creek. Land divisions located within the riparian corridor are subject to a natural resource impact review and must provide sufficient land outside of any significant natural resource overlay district. Sufficient land, as it pertains to this, means a minimum of 2,000 square feet per proposed lot or parcel. The comprehensive plan map amendment and zone amendment are type 4 quasi-judicial reviews. The application is first heard by the Planning Commission with a recommendation to City Council. The City Council is the second public hearing and the final decision. The decision criteria can be found in Albany Development Code 2.220 sub 3, 2.740, 11.180, and 6.310. Copies of these criterion are located upon the table by the entrance for the public's review. Public notice of the pending land use applications were mailed to property owners within 300 feet of the subject property on September 23rd, and the subject property was posted with copies of the notice on October 1st. A planning commission held the first hearing on October 14th and was continued to another hearing in October 28th. All submitted comments have been provided in an additional packet for you. At the conclusion of the hearing, Planning Commission recommended the City Council approve the proposed land use applications with modification of an addition of a condition of approval proposed by the property owner.
Is that it?
Oh, no, sorry. Staff finds the application as submitted by the applicant and the applicant's representative meets the decision criteria for the proposed comprehensive plan map amendment, zone amendment, partition, and natural resource impact review. Now that's it.
Thank you. Do any councilors have any clarifying questions regarding the staff report?
I have a question.
Councilor Smith?
What was the applicant's modification?
Oh, they proposed a condition of approval that prior to the final plat, that all code violations, municipal and/or development code, are mitigated.
Thank you.
Any other councilor? Newton Azor?
Does that have a financial impact? Can you explain more about if we excuse those code violations as part of the change?
I do not know any financial impact that would have. Are you talking about to the applicant?
Yeah,
Or-
like, would they be paying, like, is it excusing fines or for the code violations, or is it a accrued amount?
Counselor, I could probably help answer that a little bit. And Officer Schindell's here as well, who would be the one that would hand out those fines. This property, if it remains out of compliance, there will be a per-day penalty on that property, up to $1,000 per day. I'm not saying that that's going to be what Officer Schindell will do, but he can put fines on the property, and eventually it'll become a lien on the property. So it's definitely advantageous for the applicant to get the property cleaned up sooner than later, so that those fines aren't imposed and accrue on the property. But yeah.
I guess I must have misunderstood when Counselor Smith said that she'd already was aware of the property from previous history of like accrual fines. I assume this was like over years.
It was, and those fines, there was a substantial amount of fines and a lien on the property that was mitigated about 3 or 4 years ago, where they had taken care of it, and now this is like a new set of.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, thank you, sorry.
Nope.
Just a little confused, we were excusing like years'
No,
worth
it-
of fines. Okay, cool.
Counselor Montague?
So is this standard practice to have a condition like this for planning approval?
This condition is a condition that was proposed by the applicant, not by the planning commission themselves.
Oh, okay.
They're not, it's, the compliance issue is not tied to this or wouldn't necessarily need to be. It is now because it was a proposal by the applicant and based on why the planning commission recommended approval. But it's not, they're kind of like an apples and oranges. Yeah.
Counselor Newton Azor?
Have we done this before? Does this set a new precedent?
On
Like
putting
having this-
liens?
No, having this kind of this exception, this, for the approval, this condition, I apologize.
I'm not aware of a situation myself where that has, but maybe in the years before me being here, we may have had somebody do
How long
that.
have you
but-
been here?
What's that?
How long have you been here?
Well, 2013.
We will now take testimony from the applicant. Would the applicant please state your name, address, and make any comments you may have to the council, to the city council?
Hi there. My name is Kim Riccitelli with Green Cascades Engineering. I'm representing Tyler here for this application. Thank you
What's your
first.
address, please?
Oh, my address?
Yes.
717 Calapooya Avenue in Albany.
Please proceed.
First, thank you very much for hearing our application and deliberating today. I appreciate all your time. Since we began with some of the questions on the code of enforcement, I guess I'll speak to that first. There were ongoing issues with collection of junk and vagrancy on the property. The property owner is working very hard to get those cleared up right now and working ongoing with Albany APD to get that resolved. And that is something that is going to be ongoing and happening regardless of this land use process. And we appreciate you guys reviewing the land use process and hopefully not letting a municipal violation stop this greater discussion for the property. The partition, I think, is pretty simple. We're asking for a partition that divides it over the naturally occurring creek line to a north and south parcel that have very distinct features. The natural resource impact review also showed that there is sufficient land for this division, so I don't foresee too many questions there. And then the zone and comprehensive plan map amendments are proposed because we believe what development in the future could be suited for the north parcel is very different than the development that is suited for that south parcel. The north parcel is located directly on Grand Prairie Road. That's a minor arterial street. It has adequate utilities for future development. It has easy access to bus routes, parks, schools, shopping centers. No additional street extensions or infrastructure is required to access this land. That property is also separated from lower density neighborhoods by religious institutions on the left and right, Grand Prairie on the north, and then in the south, the Periwinkle Creek drainage basin. It's currently an undeveloped parcel, so we believe giving a path for development would help link the neighborhoods, providing a better corridor along Grand Prairie Road. There are other medium-density developments at the intersection of Grand Prairie and Waverly. That's about 700 feet away from our parcel. The medium-density zoning designation would allow for a greater diversity of housing types, including smaller lot sizes and multiple dwelling units. And we believe this will make the property more versatile for future development. The city's housing needs analysis, as you know, predicts a shortage of medium-density housing, and it does identify one solution as rezoning land from other residential designations. So this fits within that criteria. And we believe the future medium density, and this being an infill development on that north parcel, would provide an incremental solution to increasing available medium density residential homes. By approving the zone change and map amendments, the council, you would be making this parcel available for future medium density development and hopefully address some of those housing shortages within the city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now take public testimony, first from those in favor of the applications, followed by those in opposition with the concerns, and finally, anyone who is neutral. If anyone wishes to enter an exhibit into the record as part of their testimony, please briefly describe the exhibit and then email it to the address provided in the agenda. Those who register to speak during the meeting, those who register to speak during this meeting will now be called upon to present verbal testimony. We recognize, as I recognize, please state your name, your full name, and your address, and spell your last name. Make any comments you may have for the council consideration. So the first person that's signed up is Curtis Pitt, I believe. Is that correct? Okay.
My name is Curtis Pitt, P-I-T-T, and I live at 3314 Mountain View Drive, Southeast Albany. I have a written statement that I prepared that I'm going to read from because that'll be easiest for me tonight. Mr. Mayor and City Council members, I would like to thank you for your time and consideration in regard to the matter at hand. My name is Curtis Pitt, and I'm here to express my strong opposition to CP 01-24, ZC 01-24, PA 08-24, and NR 02-24. I believe the rezoning of the property in question does not comply with the City of Albany's current comprehensive plan for the area. I also think that it would be detrimental to the area. I've spoken with several residents in the area, and they are all completely opposed to the rezoning of the property in question. The dividing and rezoning of the property in question to medium density residential and residential medium will create traffic and safety problems, destroy local wildlife and their habitat, and potentially lower the property values of the existing community. The amount of increased traffic on Mountain View Drive and Grand Prairie Road would cause a major traffic safety concern to the children and pedestrians in the area. The existing community is very active with children playing and adults out walking. Recently, there was a new apartment complex built on the corner of Grand Prairie Road and Waverly Drive Southeast. I've spoken with several people and they have all witnessed an increase in the vehicle traffic in the area. The traffic surge during rush hours will also negatively impact safety for children since students walk to and from school in the area. In general, the area traffic is continuing to increase and heavy traffic is already common at times in the area of Mountain View Drive, Grand Prairie Road, and Waverly Drive. This may not have been anticipated during the last rezoning approval for the apartment complex built at the corner of Waverly and Grand Prairie. Green Cascades has produced a trip generation memo as part of the application for the proposed zoning change. I researched this and I believe that the numbers provided in the trip generation memo are completely misleading and not factual to the current zoning. I spoke to the City of Albany Community Development Department, and they confirmed that at the current zoning of RS 6.5, there can only be one residence up to a fourplex on either side of Periwinkle Creek. The trip generation memo prepared does not compare the proposed zone change to what currently could be developed on the land of right now. I have provided you each with a copy of the trip generation memo, and I have highlighted the line that the applicants are using as the current zoning designation. I've handwritten in the numbers that should be compared to against the proposed change. Jennifer Sapello from the City of Albany Planning Department informed me that there can only be one residence developed on either side of the creek as it is currently zoned. When you use the current zoning and how it could be developed today, this would mean a maximum additional trips per day would be 29 if it was a fourplex built on the current RS 6.5 zoning. Under the single dwelling development at the current zoning, it would increase the daily trips by 7. The trip generation memo provided by the applicant state that there would be 518 total trips a day under the townhome development and 137 trips under the single dwelling unit development. Using the numbers of what could be currently on the property, there would be an increase of 475 trips per day under the townhome development and 245 trips a day under the single dwelling development if zoning was changed to residential medium. I believe that the numbers provided to the Planning Commission and the City Council by Green Cascades were misleading and false in order to receive a favorable ruling. In the townhome development, the additional trips far exceed the threshold for a significant effect on an existing or planned transportation facility. The City of Albany Transportation System and Plan states that Waverly Drive from Queen Avenue to Grand Prairie may have demand that exceeds the capacity by 2030. This would only add to that. Wildlife has also been observed in the area, and I believe development will destroy their habitat. I have personally witnessed a family of gray foxes that are in the area, and bald eagles use the trees during the mating season. There are also ducks and geese that use Periwinkle Creek on a regular basis. Development of the property would push all that wildlife out of their current habitat. Property values are likely to go down in the area if multifamily apartments, triplexes, duplexes, or condos are built. Multifamily dwellings are inconsistent with the current neighborhoods developed in the area under the RS 6.5 zoning. The zoning change to residential medium is not consistent with the area and not in line with the City of Albany's comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan states that there needs to be a demonstration for the need of the proposed zoning change. Per the City of Albany's comprehensive plan, there is enough medium density land in the urban growth boundary outside of the city limits and in the village center to accommodate all residential medium housing needs through 2040 per the Portland State University study. There has been no demonstration of how this zoning change will best meet the public needs versus other alternatives. I believe the rezoning would only be detrimental to the current great neighborhood, which is in line with the current strategic plan for the city. I reviewed the City of Albany housing and residential land need assessment and found that for income levels between $15,000 and $74,900 a year, the number of affordable rental units far exceed the estimated renter households. Based on this, I don't believe there needs to be any change made to the current comprehensive plan or zoning of the property in question. Article 3 of the City of Albany Development Code states that regulations provide certainty to property owners, developers, and neighbors by stating the allowed uses and development standards for these base zones. When we purchased our home in 2020, we did our due diligence and found that all the surrounding properties were designated as low-density residential. When we purchased our home knowing that it was primarily for low-density urban residential, the comprehensive plan states that it remains responsive to the community needs. I hope that the members of the City Council protect the current community and great neighborhood and the current comprehensive plan. The proposed change would benefit one landowner and be detrimental to multiple homeowners in the area that purchased their homes knowing that the area was zoned only for low-density residential. I urge you to deny the comprehensive plan map amendment, the zoning map amendment, partition, and natural resource review impact request. I know my opinions are shared by many who have not managed to attend this meeting or write letters or emails in regards to the subject. I'd also like to note that not everybody within 300 feet was notified of this hearing. My neighbor is well within 300 feet of the property line, and I was the one that had to notify them of the meeting. Once again, I'd like to thank you for your time and support of the community.
Thank you very much for your testimony. The next person that signed up or registered to speak during this quasi-judicial hearing is Tracy Voller. Please state your name and your full name and address, and spell your last name, please.
Sure. My name is Tracy Voller. It's V as in Victor, Oeller. I reside at 3053 Brookside Avenue Southeast, and I am speaking on behalf of myself, my wife Tammy, and our neighbors as well. So is there a time limit that I need to be aware of, or can I go? It should be about probably 4 or 5 minutes.
So for public hearings, there's no time limit, correct?
No, there's still a time limit, but the last one went over though,
No,
so, yeah.
Would you let me finish?
I'm not interrupting.
So you have 5 minutes, sir.
Okay, thank you. We have 4 reasons why we believe the Albany City Council should not approve the Community Development Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, Zoning Map Amendment, Partition, and Site Plan Review, File CP 0124, ZC 0124, PA 0824, and NR 0224 pertaining to 3016 Grand Prairie Road Southeast. The Planning Commission's referral to the Albany City Council was based on the inaccurate and incomplete October 7, 2024 Community Development Staff Report. Number 1, it is our understanding that the Planning Commission only agreed to recommend this plan to the Albany City Council if all code violations pertaining to the property, 3016 Grand Prairie Road Southeast, were taken care of, including all fines paid, the property cleaned up, all junk removed and properly discarded, and the vegetation be mowed to meet city standards. Contact with Code Enforcement Officer Jeremy Wynn of the Albany Police Department on November 5th, 2024 at 1750 revealed that the property owners, Tyler Davido and Amy Bean, remain in violation as to the debris, garbage, and junk violations. Officer Wynn reports he was last at the property on October 15, 2004. Furthermore, contact with the Albany Municipal Court on November 6, 2024 today revealed that CN number 24-05099 remains an active violation and is not even scheduled for a pretrial hearing until November 13, 2024 at 10 a.m. Therefore, if the council does elect to approve the proposed changes, which we are against, we feel that approval by the Albany City Council should be with the stipulation that the above is verified to be completed before the changes can actually go into effect. Looking at a pretrial hearing, it is my understanding that because there's a hearing, they are contesting the allegations against them and not even willing at this time to pay to clean up and take care of the property. Number 2, the community development notice of the public hearing process is flawed and that it lacks any transparency, and the public is expected to make specific comments in regard to a vague plan presented by the Community Development Council and property owners, which provides limited to no ability for specific comments to be made by the public. Furthermore, it is apparent that the Planning Commission acts as a rubber stamp for the Community Development Office, and that David Martineau, Planning Supervisor for Community Development, denied our request to see how many times the Planning Commission has gone against the Community Development proposed plan, just in the last year, without charging for said information. Therefore, I would request that the Albany City Council request this information for the past year before any decision is made, as well as verifying that no specific members of the Planning Commission or Community Development Office have anything to gain by having recommended this plan to the Albany City Council. Number 3, per our statement on October 28, 2004, no one on the Planning Commission or in the Community Development Office has elected to respond to our specific claim that in accordance with the Community Staff Report Criterion C, the requested designation is not consistent with the comprehensive plan map pattern. It is our belief that the Community Development Office conclusion is incorrect and that the proposed change does not provide a buffer between the low-density residential LDR and general commercial GC or light commercial LC, and that all surrounding properties are classified as institutional or low-density residential LDR. Therefore, the application is not requesting, or the applicant is not requesting that an MDR be placed between a commercial area and a single-family dwelling neighborhood, rather between a number of churches which have traffic activity approximately 1 day a week and a residential single-family development neighborhood. Furthermore, committee staff report conclusion C1, which states the predominant map pattern for the location in general commercial GC, light commercial LC, and medium-density residential MDR is completely inaccurate and very misleading. We would ask that, unlike the Planning Commission, the Albany City Council actually look into the inaccuracy in the Community Development Office staff report before any decision is made. Finally, we would ask that the comprehensive plan map amendment, zoning map amendment, partition and site plan review for 3016 Grand Prairie Road Southeast be not denied or delayed until the Oregon Department of Transportation can complete an updated assessment of the minor arterial roadway known as Grand Prairie Road Southeast, which currently has a speed limit of 45 miles per hour and limited capacity for making a left turn out of 3016 Grand Prairie Road Southeast. Therefore, likely increasing the traffic through the single-family residential development by forcing people to make a left or a right turn and accessing Waverly through the only 2 access points of this neighborhood between Grand Prairie, neither of which is controlled by a traffic light. As reported by Aaron,
Thank you, sir. You've gone over.
okay,
Thank you. Can you please provide that to?
I would. And I would also real quickly like to ask the city council not to just buckle down to whatever the state has to say and actually
Thank you.
support the people of Albany,
Thank you.
because you represent us.
Thank you. We will now be taking public testimony for those who did not register to speak beforehand. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand. If you're attending in person, if you're attending virtually, please turn on your camera and raise your hand and be called upon by, if you're attending by phone, please unmute yourself and state your name and address and where you called, so you can be called upon. Seeing none, does any member of the audience wish to speak in support of the application? Does any member of the audience wish to speak in opposition to the application? If so, please state your name and your address. Come forward. Thank you. Please, come.
Can I just stand here, please?
You have to come up here, please. It's a public hearing.
I
Thank
don't
you
think
for-
she wants to address the hearing.
It's during the hearing. She's addressing the hearing.
I'm here to address this.
You are here to address
So-
the hearing? My apologies.
My name is Kathleen Boatwright. My address is 3130 Quail Avenue, Southeast Albany, Oregon. I live in the Lexington area. My concern comes as being an educator of this school district for many years, that a proper assessment of the needs of future students and where they're going to school has not been thoroughly investigated and addressed. I see many units being built, and having worked in the district, I know that we don't have enough room for the students. So this really will have a direct impact on the quality of lives of the families in the area who chose to live there and to be able to have their children attend a neighborhood school. So I'd love to see the information where they say there's not going to be a negative impact, because I believe there will be.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
testimony. I appreciate it. Is there anyone else? Thank you. Does the applicant have any rebuttal testimony? Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Does any member of the audience wish to speak neutrally of the application? Does the applicant have any rebuttal testimony?
Vitelli, again, Green Cascades. The one item I'd like to address real quickly is just the traffic impact analysis. There is a little bit of misunderstanding about that. It is not comparing a single-family residence to a full development at residential medium density. It is comparing a subdivision at residential single-family, the RS 6.5 to the residential medium density. So it's a complete if potential application for both, and not just a single house. So we'd like to make that clear, and if you have any more questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Counselor Kupczynski?
Just a tangential question, looking at the map, the southern portion, and maybe I'm misreading the map completely, doesn't appear to have any access whatsoever. How would that be developed?
Yeah, so the southern portion does have an access. There's a 24-foot access easement that can approach the property.
Okay, thank you.
Any other counselor? Any questions? Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Kathy's question about the schools, do we know anything about that? Or we can't guarantee there's children that will be living in the property that's built? I'm just curious.
I believe that we inform the school district of our plans and kind of how many people we think we're going to have. And they make their plans based on what our plans are. So I believe part of the process is we do inform the school, right? Am I remembering my days from
And
planning
David
commission
Martineau
right?
can address that as well.
David, please.
Yeah.
Can you please come up and tell, this is a public hearing. So the next question is, does any staff member wish to respond to any testimony presented? So I was going to call you anyway.
Okay, thank you. So we do notify the school district with, when we issue a notice of public hearing, and we also routinely provide the school district on a quarterly basis all of our new residential development that enables them to help do their own planning. We typically have not received any correspondence from the school district on applications like these, and in this case, that's also the same.
Go ahead, please.
So David, is it true when an application comes across the Planning Commission that you provide them with some very thorough criteria to approve or deny the application?
Correct, and the review and approval criteria are the ones that we shared tonight in the PowerPoint presentation. So those review criteria are the standards that we have to evaluate the application.
Right, so they use those criteria to make their decisions,
Correct.
not necessarily your suggestions?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Smith?
I had a number of questions based on the written testimony that we received this afternoon and reviewing the staff report last week. Can you explain how recent state law affected single-family zoning? This neighborhood has traditionally been single-family only, and this is a change from that. That was a change that was made in state law that the city of Albany also adopted.
Correct. Yes, so in that regard, we had to adopt standards to allow all forms of middle housing in all of our existing single dwelling unit zones. And that means that on a given lot in, say, the RS 6.5 zone, you can have one detached single-family residence, you could have a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex, townhomes or cottage clusters. And so about the only advantage that this zone change request would offer the applicant is the ability to do multifamily development. But the density standards in the RM zone are 25 units per acre. If you were to do townhomes on the existing zone RS 6.5 and you made each townhome on its own lot, you could get 25 townhomes per acre. So in a way, it's really a wash. Really, the only benefit here, again, would be to provide opportunities for multiple family development.
Follow-up question. Rezoning the property does not change the use of the property until there is a development proposal that's approved. Is that correct?
So if you rezone the property from RS 6.5 to RM, any of the range of uses allowed in the RM zone can take place on the property.
But there are no uses proposed for this
There are
property
no
at this
uses
time?
proposed at this time, that's correct.
Nope. Thank you very much.
I did have a question regarding traffic. I watched that development go up on that corner, and I wondered about that because it was before I was on council when it was approved. This has been interpreted one way and then explained another.
Okay.
Have you had a chance to look? I see a professional engineer has his stamp on here. So I'm imagining his credibility is suspect to some folks. Have you reviewed this as well?
I'm not the project planner on this, but I could ask Aaron Heemster, our city engineering manager, to come up and perhaps speak to that.
Good evening. Aaron Heemstra, Public Works Engineering. So the Green Cascades trip generation memo they provided, I did go over it thoroughly with planning staff as well, making sure to be able to check the densities, making sure that was correct in order to look at the max potential between the two zones. So, and then took a look at our IT manual, which is how we base all our trip generation, and making sure all their math came out correct as well.
So as far as you know, this is correct?
Yes, that is correct. It did not take into account the potential for middle housing into it. It went based off the max density in the RM zone, which is 25, and then it used townhomes in the RS 6.5 to determine its max impact for that existing zone. But when we checked the middle housing, it came out to be right about the same. If you were to throw middle housing in that table, right around that 70, 72 trips.
Thank you. Anybody want to question that?
So what I think I hear you saying is kind of what David was saying. Either way, the traffic is a wash because you could build you could have 25 units and 25 units, and that's still going to be the same amount of vehicles.
Correct. And when you're when looking at their study, I looked at the TSP to compare if there's any existing deficiencies there. The Waverly Grand Prairie intersection is a level of service B, which means it doesn't have that long of a delay. And then the capacity ratio is still pretty good there. And then
Can you share what TSP is, because people hear me now?
Transportation System Plan.
Thank
So
you.
that was developed in 2010 and hopefully gets updated fairly soon if ODOT gives us the go-ahead.
Thank you.
We have our East Albany plan. How does this work with the overlay? Is this in the same area that we were discussing with Ann? No?
That's on the other side of the freeway.
Okay.
Way
And
on the
then
side.
I had another question. A constituent in the letter expressed concerns about wildlife. Can you explain for everyone here maybe what a natural habitat is? Because for my understanding, a natural habitat is much larger than what the property is, and it needs to have a place for food, water, natural resources for wildlife to survive. And is there any documented, animals that are protected in that area that maybe are using it for breeding? Just want to get some clarification on that.
The only part of Albany that has a habitat assessment overlay, which then receives protection, is around the Thornton Lake area for the threatened species of 2 different types of turtles. And that's the only area within the city limits that we actually have a habitat overlay. The difficulty is, though, is that when you have property in the city and it's within the city limits and also within the urban growth area, it's earmarked for development at some point in the future. Around town, you could see deer, you could see many different animals, and there isn't any specific protection in place for that at that location.
Thank you.
Does anyone have procedural questions that would like to raise at this time? If so, please raise your hand, and if you're attending in person. If you're attending virtually, please turn on your camera and raise your hand to be called upon, or if you're attending by phone, please unmute yourself and state your name to be called upon.
My question is if the city council.
Please.
It's an accessibility issue in recording, so we need to have everything recorded on microphone.
Yeah, we have to record it. Come over and with the microphone. It's a procedural question?
Yes.
Okay, please.
My question is if the city council, after this lot is cleaned up, approves
Yeah,
this.
state your name again, please.
Yes, Tracy Voeller, 3053 Brookside Avenue Southeast,
Spell your last name.
VOELLER.
Thank you.
If the city council elects to approve this after the cleanup is done, because it can't until that time from my understanding, what is my appeal right and how long till I am notified and how long do I have to attain an attorney and make the appeal?
That would be a question for our city attorney.
So that's not a procedural issue?
It's procedural, and it actually is addressed at the end of this hearing
Yes,
tonight.
it's in the-
So,
it's in
yeah,
the
it will-
document. All right.
We'll address it tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, does the city council wish to discuss this case or ask questions of staff? Counselor Novak?
I noted it was asked about development, and I think Counselor Smith said something about there's nothing yet, and I just want to, I can't remember exactly the words you used to say,
Rezoning the property, it does not change the use of the property until there's a development proposal. I believe that's what she
right,
said.
and that there was no proposal. Thank you, that's the word that I could not. And no proposed, nothing proposed as of yet. And I just want to say operative words, as of yet. I share some concerns, and I guess this isn't the right time to say that, but
I can clear it up.
Yeah.
There is no development proposal at this time.
thank you, yes, I did hear that.
Okay.
And I would say operative words at this time.
But it is earmarked for development in the future, correct? All right.
So,
It's infill within our urban growth boundary, so it would always be earmarked. It's always going to be earmarked.
as long as it's inside the boundary,
It's
yes.
in the urban growth boundary, yes.
Thank you very much, David.
Okay.
I declare this public hearing closed at 6:46 PM. City council deliberation, discussions and questions of staff. There are motions on your consideration on the dais. Any discussion about the motions? Will the city, is there any more discussion, council? Okay. Will the city attorney read the ordinance the first time in title only?
An ordinance amending ordinance number 4836, which adopted the City of Albany Comprehensive Plan, map, and amending ordinance number 4441, which adopted the City of Albany zoning map by amending the Albany Comprehensive Plan and zoning map and adopting findings for the property located at Lynn County Assessor's Map number 11S-03W-16, tax lot 1300.
Council?
Move to have the ordinance read a second time in title only with discussion to follow, please.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Thank you.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 4836, which adopted the City of Albany Comprehensive Plan map and amending ordinance number 4441, which adopted the City of Albany zoning map by amending the Albany Comprehensive Plan and zoning map and adopting findings for the property located at Lynn County Assessor's Map number 11S-03W-16, tax lot 1300.
Council?
Comment and discussion?
Any discussion, council?
Yes, please.
Please. Counselor Smith?
This request to change the comprehensive plan map and the zoning map meet the criteria as outlined in state law and the municipal code. I have a suggestion as to the modification before making a motion to approve the application. The modification that was requested by the owner to get everything cleaned up and the code violations taken care of before before it's settled. What am I trying to say? He has offered to clean up the property as we have been requesting for a long time. If we approve this ordinance, I would like that to make that approval contingent on the cleanup and not effective until the cleanup is done, till the place is spotless.
Are you proposing a timeline?
You know, there have been many timelines attached to that property, and we might attach a timeline. I'm just saying that nothing would happen zone-wise, comp plan map-wise, until it's completed. I don't know if that's even possible, but I'm throwing that out there.
So, Sean, do you have anything? The attorney?
I'm sorry, Mayor, what was that?
So Counselor Smith recommended, am I hearing you properly? To a contingent upon setting a timeline for the cleanup before anything takes.
Yeah, and me and Director Rutgers were just discussing that, so he's gonna talk about it a little bit.
So I'll provide this is a new information, just clarification. So the condition that the applicant has proposed is that that they would be in compliance prior to any final plat. And when we say plat, that's the partition. So this is just the preliminary, and then they come in for a final. It's just the map that gets recorded. The way that our Albany Development Code is structured, it would prohibit them to move forward with any new land use, so a new use on the land, until they're in compliance with all prior land uses. So and we're talking about just the development code there. So by conditioning it as part of this land use procedure, they have to come into compliance with that condition before they could apply for a new land use, if that makes sense. So you've already it is time to basically have to be cleaned up with that condition prior to them making an application for to do something with the property.
The cleanup is under the municipal code, not the land use code, or the development code. Does that still count?
So and that's why, this one is interesting because the two aren't typically linked together, and staff couldn't place that condition on the property because it's a municipal code item. But with the applicant proposing it, basically a self-imposed condition to be put on there, that's different. So they've actually said, we want the condition on there, so we're able to accommodate that, which now it becomes a land use condition, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. It makes sense. I'll refrain from further comment.
Counselor Novak?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Just while we're still on that topic, I want to clarify that the violation case that's in municipal court that was referenced earlier is also separate from this. It's the same property, but putting this condition on the property tonight will not stop the enforcement through the municipal court of them having to comply with this. So it doesn't give them an indefinite amount of time to clean it up now because it's tied to a final plat.
This is further encouragement.
Yes, it'll be further encouragement. And it is, I think, one of the gentlemen spoke tonight about it on the 13th. It's actually scheduled to go to court next Wednesday. So we'll be in municipal court on it next Wednesday.
Counselor Novak?
Thank you. I have a lot of concerns about the proposed rezoning. I have concerns about the people that will be directly affected by it. I don't think they've necessarily had due process, and I certainly hear what they had to say, and I can't support this at all. I don't want to see increased density throughout the city. I don't want to see our city double in size in mere minutes, because that's what it feels like is happening. I know what's happening in my part of the city, and I don't want to see it happen all over. I don't want to see it happen anywhere. And again, I really hope, as the people who have appeared here this evening have said, that they will be heard by those who represent them, by the staff and by the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Novak.
Go ahead.
I have a quick question. Do we know, is it due to illegal dumping? Where is all the stuff coming from? Is it random people dropping washers off, or where is this junk all coming from?
I can't.
That's been going on for years and years.
I can't speak to that, but
It's, my understanding is, and I don't know if the applicant's actually here tonight to, wants to come up and answer that question.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they are or not, or the representative, but my understanding from Officer Schindel is it's actually generated from family members.
I apologize for using maybe a trite example, but before I asked, when I was growing up, before I asked to like go out and do something with my friends, I always made sure my room was clean. And I just feel like before you even want to set this condition, you're coming before us, wouldn't you want to have your property squared up instead of saying, oh, hey, let's tie this condition here and we pinky promise we'll do this? It kind of is making me feel a little frustrated, just to be honest. I'm not understanding why you would want to not, if you want to develop the property and have it rezoned, why you wouldn't have it ready when you were going to come before council and have that done.
Good point.
Counselor Kopczynski?
Well, by the same token, the applicant is stating right up front that they are going to have it done before they make any proposals. That's not what my comment is. Okay. There was a commenter that suggested, and I think very disingenuously, that the city council blithely disregards state law as it applies to some of these issues. That's not going to happen.
Pat? Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance?
I move we adopt the ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Mayor,
Yes.
could we read through the motion that's on the chair guide and read that?
You
It's
read it the
on-
second time with title only already.
We did, but for purposes of approving a land use hearing and, or a land use issue and go into LUBA if we have to, there's a chair guide on how to do it. I think everybody's got on their, yeah, I think all the council members have one
All
there.
right,
so.
sorry,
Okay.
I was
And it would
taking
be
the
the one with the
shortcut.
modification.
I apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
It's the one with the modification, correct?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Now I get to read this. I move the city council adopt with a modification an ordinance that would approve the comprehensive plan map amendment with concurrent rezone to RM under planning file CP-01-24 and ZC-01-24, as described in the October 7th, 2024 staff report. The modification of the approval is, what is the modification? Specifically, the words.
It would be the it would be the self-imposed
The
modification that was
self-imposed
on there, right?
modification. This motion
From the
is-
applicant.
Okay, from the applicant. This motion is based on the findings and conclusion in the staff report, testimony presented at the hearing, and the findings in support of the application made by the city council during the deliberations on this matter. And I have to do this. I move the city approve as modified the partition and natural resource impact review applications under planning files PA-08-24 and NR-02-24 as described in the October 7th, 2024 staff report. The proposed modifications include the self-proposed applicant's modifications. This motion is based on the findings and conclusions in the staff report, testimony presented at this hearing, and the findings in support of the application made by the city council during deliberations on this matter.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
No.
Do a roll call, please, Allison.
Counselor Smith,
Yes.
Counselor McGee,
Yes.
Counselor Novak,
No.
Counselor Newton Azor,
No?
Counselor Kupczynski,
Yes.
Counselor Montague.
Yes.
The vote is 4 yes to 2 no.
Okay. So motion passes, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And then I'll let
Now
you go.
approve or deny the partition and natural resource impact review of applications based on the ordinance motion made. Read it all together? Okay, thank you. Item 26 on this agenda, within 5 days of the decision the Community Development Director will provide written notice of the decision to the applicant and any other parties entitled to the notice. A decision of the City Council may be appealed to the Land Use Board of Appeals, LUBA, by filing a notice of intent to appeal not later than 21 days of the decision becomes final. Thank you. Next on tonight's agenda is business from the public. Thank you. Business from the public. Business from the public is a time for Albany residents to speak and for the councilors to listen. The council won't discuss topics or make decisions during the business from the public, but will take comments and requests under advisement. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes and must follow the council's rules and observe the same standards of decorum. If you're unable to do so, they'll be asked to step down and take a seat in the audience for the rest of the meeting. When arriving at the microphone, please give your name and state whether or not you live in the city of Albany, Oregon. First up to speak tonight is Whitney Scoyne. Thank you. Please say your name for me one more time.
Good evening. My name is Whitney Scoyne. I am currently not a resident of Albany, Oregon, but I was born and raised here. And I only moved out of Albany 3 years ago to Halsey, and I plan on moving back. I do have a partner with me, Kathleen Boatwright, who does live in Albany. And our idea that we want to present to you is to create and develop a women's shelter for the city of Albany that focuses on helping women who are in need and allows us to be able to find out what their needs are and meet those needs as appropriately as possible. And we plan on finding grants and raising money, and basically we're just beginning with this idea, and we wanted to present it to you guys so that you can help us, direct us, and if there's any information that you could give to us, we would greatly appreciate it. I know that to do stuff like this in a city, we have to have council approval and council support. And so that's why I want to present this to you at our first stages so that we can continue our process correctly and according to what we need, the criteria that we need to meet in order to be
compliant?
Yes, thank you.
I'm gonna give you my business card.
Okay.
Yes. I have a comment, if I may do that later on. Yes, I will, yeah.
Thank you.
So that's it. If anyone has any
No,
questions.
this is the time where you speak, we listen.
Oh, okay.
We'll take it under advisement. But you have my card.
Okay.
I'd love to talk with you later about this.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right.
Oh, whoopsies. Sorry. This is my partner, Kathleen Boatwright.
I'm second on the list.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I was wondering if you could, Kathleen Boatwright, please.
Uh-huh.
3 minutes, please.
Yes. We're coming to City Council for guidance. We see a need that's not being met. We're looking at opportunities for foundations and trusts to support us financially as we try to launch this thing off the ground. And we understand there are many models that take place. We've looked in Corvallis, where the Methodist Church has been very supportive in providing opportunities, women for shelter, for services, a place to be safe, a place to be warm, grab a meal. I know that it's very complicated to serve the public in this capacity, and we have been brainstorming about how we could reach out. And the first resource that I thought of was, did the city put Maple Lawn back to use? Or is it vacant? And how do we explore if it's available even, if it's an option even, because we're looking to start small, but when you drive anywhere in this town at night, it's frightening how many women are alone, unsafe. They can't take a bath. They don't have restroom facilities. They are trying to eat from a convenience store. It's really sad to me, and I see it only getting worse. Although we're building more houses, they're unaffordable for people in need. So we're coming here to our counselors and asking us, where do we go for next steps? Thank you.
Yeah, please give me a call.
Definitely.
Thank you.
All right.
Does anyone in chambers like to speak to the council? Thank you. So before I move on to the next thing, I would like to express my congratulations to Counselor-elect Carolyn McLeod. I don't know if the other councilors-elects are here, but congratulations. Congratulations to Mayor Counselor Smith for being reelected. And it was a good night last night, so thank you for being here this evening. Expect to see more of you. So next on tonight's agenda, the first reading of an ordinance. Let me go back here. And that ordinance is for AMC 6.1 Wildlife Control, Officer Christian Dell, pages 69 through 71 in your packet.
Good evening. So back on September 25th, we had some tenants, residents of Mennonite Village come in and express their concerns over turkeys and wildlife that were being fed and increasing in population. I was out there today. I got to observe about 10, 15 of them. So based on your recommendations of drafting a code and had this already come to council in 2020, I brought that one forth. We had some concerns brought forth by Councilor Smith regarding making sure not to prohibit songbird feeding, waterfowl feeding, which is in there. Other than that, it's a pretty straightforward code. This was brought, when I first drafted this, it was run through ODFW and their things, so it will stand their test of time too. Any questions?
Any questions for Officer Schindel?
I have a clarifying comment. Reading through the ordinance, it describes wildlife is described as any animal that is not normally domesticated, including but not limited to nutria, coyotes, deer, foxes, groundhogs, possums, raccoons, skunks, and turkeys. It does not mention feral cats. And it does not mention feral cats because feral cats can be, by very determined people, domesticated under some circumstances. That's correct. There
is correct.
There are groups of volunteers, well-meaning people who love cats, who feed colonies of feral cats around Albany. They've been doing it for decades. They feed them, they trap them, they have them spayed and neutered, they take them back, and eventually the colonies will die out. So it's a mercy and a kindness, but they would not be subject to this thing,
No,
this ordinance.
they would not.
Okay.
Counselor Newton? Okay.
Sorry. What would happen to the turkeys? Like, is there like, are you guys gonna catch them?
So this ordinance in
know it's just, like,
itself
not
is the
feeding it.
feeding, right?
Yeah.
Which should, when you talk to them, push them back to their natural resources, right? They're in a zone or a property that has no natural predators, and they could grow exponentially because people are feeding them. When that is taken away, they should disperse a little bit. The second course of action is, which I'm not a fan of, but ODFW does issue to cities, if they wish, licenses to exterminate them. That comes with other strings attached. You have to dress them all the way down and find a place to donate them to. That comes into other legalities as far as like, what if somebody gets sick on that? We don't have food handlers stuff. All of those things are things the state are constantly talking about, but have reached no decision on. So that could change to where they're just like, okay, you could kind of limit them and take them out. But at this time, their current processes, if they issue you a license to lower the population, you have to do all that to all of them and donate somewhere.
What's the timeline, you think, for lowering the population that we expect?
Sorry, go ahead one more time.
If people aren't feeding them, how long do you think it would take them to dissipate and find other places? I'm worried they're going to try to get into garbage cans or, rip up gardens.
They could. I don't know that timeline. It's pretty big population out there. Can't remember the exact number they gave me. 70, yes.
70?
Yeah,
70,
they're,
yes.
they're quite big population out there, so I imagine it takes some time. Corvallis has, at least my last knowledge, talking to their CSOs, they kill like 5 a year. That's not going to do anything, right? Like it would have to be a big undertaking to quickly limit that herd. But I think this is a step in the right approach because then ODFW, when we have the code, will then go that next step and work with us on issuing those and dealing that stuff.
Just kidding.
Thanksgiving. And when I talk to them in the past and still currently, they're pretty open on giving those things. They're like, you let us know and we'll help you out.
Yeah, just kidding.
Councilor Novak, please. I'm sorry, we're done?
No, I was just making a snide remark about Thanksgiving. So
Just around the corner.
Just was teasing.
So I just need a little clarification. I think I might have misheard. I thought that same gentleman had come to us regarding one particular cat and cheese or mouse or something like that.
Cheddar.
That's it, whatever. So, yeah, the cat name.
You're almost there.
Yeah. And that cat, I think he said was feral. So my question is, because I don't think I heard this correctly. This doesn't apply to that cat? He was really upset about that cat. And I'm
Absolutely.
like, can we not do something about that?
So yeah, so I
Cheddar.
met extensively. I spent a lot of time today with the group that's here today, going over, first, Cheddar's not feral, but Cheddar has an owner. So that negates that issue. I also went over extensively what the current code allows for and kind of the retraining that need to happen based on the confusion that he was presented by other CSOs. So I cleared that up today.
Excuse me, is the owner not liable if the cat is terrorizing other households or whatever was going on that the?
Yes, so that's what I'm getting to. So we have an animal ordinance, animals at large, animals as a nuisance. They would qualify as that. It's like 61240 Section 5, talks about trespassing. Last time he spoke about that, about having to have 3 or more, which is qualifying. We have photos, very distinguishable. So yeah, we're working on that. I've given the CSO who's working on that case all the contact information, so we will continue. They will have citations. And they'll have
Thank
to go
you.
through
I'm
that process.
encouraged to know that that gentleman's concern has not been left by the wayside.
No, absolutely not. We went through all that today.
Thank you.
Great code, though.
So Councilor McGee, you have anything? Councilor Kopczynski? Councilor Smith? Councilor Montague?
May I say something?
This is not the time for that, sir.
Well, I'm just going to tell Chris. If you don't pass this, Fish and Wildlife will not trap the turkeys.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
We understood that from our first time we talked. Yeah. So would the city attorney please read the ordinance the first time in title only?
An ordinance amending the Albany Municipal Code, AMC, Title VI, by the creation of Chapter 6.16 titled Wildlife Control.
Will the city councilor make a motion to read the ordinance the second time in title only?
I'll move that we read it in title only.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Thank you.
An ordinance amending the Albany Municipal Code, AMC, Title VI, by the creation of Chapter 6.16 titled Wildlife Control.
Is there further discussion, council? Thank you. Would the council like to make a motion to adopt the ordinance?
I'll move that we adopt ordinance AMC 6.16 wildlife control.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, oh, excuse me. Is there any discussion? Those opposed say no. Thank you. Motion passes. Next on tonight's agenda is adoption of a resolution for public services rate increase. Julie Jackson, Municipal Manager, page 72 to 80 in your packet.
Good evening, I'm Julie Jackson with Republic Services, and I'm just here to again present the rate increase of 3.2% for effective January 1st, 2025. We went over this at the work session, but I'm happy to answer any other questions that you might have.
Councilor Novak?
Thank you. It's more just to say thank you. I really appreciate that Councilor Montague asked and you responded with the 5-year rate increase. So I did a little bit of low math, and over the last 5 years, the rates have been raised 18.6%. That's an average of 3.72% per year, which is over the CPI of 3.3%. The 6-year average with the request for 3.2 is still 3.65, which is above the CPI. And so my request is, because even if you brought it down to 2.3 or 2.2% instead of 3.2%, it's still above the 3.3 CPI. And so my request is, if you could consider, at least in 5-year increments, trying to keep the increases even with the CPI. I'm speaking on behalf of people on fixed incomes particularly, who every single increase, because you don't think, think it's my increase, it's not that much, but there's so many increases. There's dozens of increases on a yearly basis, and some of them even more frequent than that. So all I'm asking is if you would consider doing your best to keep it at or below the CPI.
So the one thing I will say about that is that CPI was not 3.3% during each of those years. So if you add it, if you looked at what CPI was during some of those years, it would be much higher than that 3.3%, and we'd have to go back and look at that. But I can give you that information in a day or two if you'd like. Again, the 3.3% CPI is the CPI as was calculated June 30th, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. And that's the prescribed method of rate increases that we use here in Albany. So that it's not just CPI based, it's also based on the fuel index and also on disposal costs. And I'll just say a little bit about that you may be aware disposal costs are going up. We are working on a potential expansion at Coffin Butte Landfill to continue to provide reasonable price for disposal and what we think is a good job of providing a sustainable solution for waste that comes out of Benton County, but also the surrounding counties, Lynn, Benton, Marion, Polk, Lincoln. And we have had a 2-year plus delay in that expansion request and have had to move into a very expensive part of the landfill that we did not intend to move to yet. And so those disposal costs are also included in that calculation. And I want you to be aware of that as we go forward. We try very hard to keep the rate down. And I think as I explained on Monday that at one point, the calculation was above 13%, but we only asked for 9%, still very high during COVID, but we felt that that was too high. So we have made exceptions, and if the council wants to look at a different calculation, that discussion can be had. But right now, this is the method that we use.
Thank you. And I meant to add also, not only on behalf of those on fixed incomes, but also for small businesses.
Sure.
Because they're just strapped.
Sure.
Many of them.
And we're concerned about disposal costs for small businesses too. We're very concerned.
I know
about
you
that.
are. You helped me out with a bigger, back when we had the restaurant, so.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, thank you, Councilor. Any other councilor have any comments or questions?
For everyone that's here, this is, the 3.2 is about 95 cents per
Right.
account.
I remember
So,
that.
per household a month.
Yeah, again, it's not much on its own. I'm just speaking to the fact that if that were the only thing being raised, no big deal. It's just that everything is being raised.
You know, this is what I do this time of year, and I'm keenly aware that it is not just us. And, you know, we try to be very cognizant of that as we talk about increases and adjustments. So I do appreciate what you're saying.
Thank you. So council? You have a motion?
I would move to approve the rate increase as requested.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Say no. Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Next on tonight's agenda of accepting grants, ODOT grant for DUI officer. Thank goodness. Chief Marshall Herndon. Hey, Chief.
In the interest of time, I'll just do a quick summary. We applied for a grant from ODOT, which is a recipient of money through NHTSA for a DUI position. It is an escalating match. If you see in the memo, they'll cover 100% year one, and then it escalates up from that. We have budgeted general fund money to accomplish that. And at the end of that time, my intention, depending on the budget build, is to make that a permanent FTE position. Happy to answer any questions.
Council?
I have a comment. As many complaints as we get about driving behavior, go for it.
Thank you.
So one of the things that I get calls about, Chief, is people flying through red lights or being intoxicated, crashing into sidewalks and stuff like that. So I'm really happy to see this on there. And anything that we can do to help make it easier for you, we'd love to do that. At least I would. I don't know about the rest of them, but I would.
I think it's important for the council to know that with this position, that will increase our traffic section, so to speak, to 3. We have 1 position that is not filled, and that's mostly because we've finally got it up to staffing. So this is an additional position as well. We already have a traffic officer in that unit right now who is trying to cover as much as he can throughout the city. So having extra bodies will help.
Thank you. Council?
I move we approve a resolution accepting grant funds to hire a DUI officer through the Oregon Department of Transportation Safety Office TSO grant.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Thank you, Chief. Next on tonight's agenda, Emergency Telephone Association grant. Chief Marshall Herndon, page 83 to 84 in your packet.
Again, in the interest of brevity, we are facing a lot of talk about rising costs. Our portable radios that we carry on our belts, that is essential to the duties of a police officer, cost $11,000 a piece. And we're at end of life for those radios. So knowing that that's coming at us, making a tiered implementation, we're going out and trying to find as much grant money as we possibly can. And in this case, we got a $20,000 grant, which will allow us to buy a couple more. In addition, it does not always dig into our equipment replacement money. So this is a useful grant for that purpose.
That's breathtakingly expensive. I'm surprised at that cost, but maybe I shouldn't be. And they're in use like 24 hours a day, right?
Correct, yeah. I've got one of the oldest ones that's failing because I want the patrol folks to have it, but yeah, they're little computers, and they are absolutely essential to what we do.
How long is the life on them?
Generally 10 years, we're at end of life on these.
So you've had them for a while then?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Council?
I move we accept the Emergency Telephone Association grant.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Thanks for seeing me tonight. Next, adoption of the consent calendar. Council?
I would move we adopt the consent agenda as written.
Sir,
I have a motion and a second. All those in,
Sir? I would like to pull item 8B1 for comment and a quick question.
which one's that again?
8B1.
8 Bravo 1. Adoption of placing B1. Okay, adopting revised policies.
Yes. So we had the panel from WHA speaking with us on Monday regarding these policies, and we were all given a little booklet, sort of a report, I guess it was, and I perused it. The woman from WHA, one of the two of them, spoke about the fact that we had hired 16 new officers, and I'm waiting for clarification from staff regarding whether that was referring specifically to police officers or administrators or who, but I haven't gotten any word yet. So I'm just curious, and I'm hoping, oh, thank you, here you are.
So, Councilor Novak, I believe it was officers. I do have an email out to our insurance broker for clarification on that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Could you tell me how many people we have on staff that are covered in the policy for which the premium is $750,000?
I believe we have between 435,000, 435 FTE
Okay,
at the city.
and that's with the 16 new officers that she mentioned have been hired in the last year.
That's including everybody in the city. And then we also have other people who are included. We have like volunteer policies, and we have.
Well, I'll just narrow it down to specifically city staff. How many do we have on staff? Because with reference to the 16 new hired.
I'm not sure of the exact amount, but I believe it's about 435.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And the 16 are included in that 435.
The 16 are included in that, yes.
Thank you. So would you still want to pull it?
No, we're good.
Okay,
I
thank
wanted
you.
those questions answered, and I got my answer.
Well done, thank you. So adoption of the consent calendar, we had a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Thank you, motion passes. Next is business from the council, and I'll start with Councilor McGee today.
I just am really excited about the women's shelter that could potentially be coming to Albany. I think that's great work. My mother worked in a women's shelter for many years, so I'm excited about that. That's all I have.
Thank you. I'll go Councilor Kopczynski,
Nothing tonight?
Councilor Montague.
Yeah, I have a few things. I attended my very first Lynn Benton Loop Board meeting and wanted to give you an update. We discussed reducing the summer service on to one campus collector. So they were previously running 2 campus collectors, and we approved to reduce it to 1. When I look at the numbers, there is increased ridership, but for the months in which people are attending school, but during those summer months, that has just remained flat. So that'll free up some, what I hear is that it's gonna free up some bus drivers to give a little bit more flexibility for vacation. So that is a good thing. And then also, there are 2 mobility hubs that are being constructed and should be completed by fall 2025 on both the LBCC and OSU campuses. So super exciting projects. I'm excited to see what those are gonna look like. And then lastly, I just want to appreciate the Planning Commission, who are an amazing group of volunteers. They spend a lot of their own time combing through really hefty technical packets. They seriously consider the evidence and make decisions based on that criteria. So I just wanted to make sure that that appreciation was felt and heard. And that's all I have.
Councilor Novak.
All right, yeah. The other day, I guess it was Monday, I referenced the new ordinance that we have for the street maintenance utility fee, and I was talking about the idea of people who have excess funds that they could donate to a street maintenance utility fund, that would be a swell idea. And I mentioned the $16 amount, and Councilor Smith said we don't have a $16 street maintenance utility. And I know that the amount hasn't been set, but we do have the ordinance number 6050, which is the creation of the street maintenance utility fee. It was passed on September 25th, and it has been in effect since October 25th. So we do indeed have a street maintenance utility fee. I was referencing actually part of what was specific language at one point, $3.92 to $16.81. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Counselor Newton, Azor?
Yeah, I wanted to extend my congratulations to Marilyn Smith on her reelection. I also wanted to extend congratulations to Carolyn Wagner on her election. I apologize. Carolyn McLeod, I apologize. And then I also want to extend congratulations to Michael Thompson. I know he's not here. He'll be serving here in Ward 1. I've had a few folks call me just really anxious. I know that happens frequently whenever change happens. It's natural, right? But in these moments, I think it's really good to be reminded about the true strength of our community. We're really lucky here in Albany. And community is not just a group of people, but I feel it's really just a powerful force of resilience and action and support. And, I know here on the dais, we talk a lot about community. And, it means a lot more than just, a collection of people. I really think that community is a verb. It's an intentional action that we each take each day to, be kind to our neighbors, to, do a good turn, to make the world a better place. And so I just wanted to thank everyone for creating this amazing community here in Albany. And I look forward to seeing how we grow in the future.
What I wanted to tell the Whitney and Kathleen is about some people you might want to contact regarding a women's shelter. There is a small women's shelter that's operated by Helping Hands for women who are are you aware of that one? Oh, it's Bailey House. It's at the corner of First and, not Madison, First and Main. Just past the Linger Longer where the street becomes one way. It's the old Oak Hill Community Church. It's been operating now for probably 5 or 6 years, and it's for women with children primarily who are homeless, just coming out of incarceration, getting back on their feet. So Jessica Becker at Helping Hands might be a good source for you to contact. Also, Mayor Johnson probably knows more about this than I do, but the people who operate First Hand Seconds used clothing store on 2nd Avenue are connected with Mercy House, which is an organization that helps women who are escaping from domestic violence and other bad situations. They would be good people to talk to as well. You're welcome.
Thank you. I have a few things tonight. One, I had the pleasure of going to a very cold at night West Albany boys soccer game. They won in double overtime. They beat down south, Ashland, and it was great to be out there watching the young men play. But we also have, our football team is playing this Friday against Hillsborough High at home, and our girls volleyball team at South Albany is actually won their first round. I have the brackets right here. And they play Corvallis on the 8th at 1:30 on Forest Grove. And our South Albany volleyball team is playing right now as well. The soccer team is playing right now as well up north. So wish our kids a great success, and I'm really excited about that. We have a Veterans Parade coming on the 11th, which I'm excited about. I know Matt Harrington has invited the young men and women that participated in the InfoWare Mayor Contest. So I'm excited to see them again. I know one of them can't make it. Our state winner cannot make it. She's off at college, but it's really nice to hear that she was invited, and she really appreciated that. And other than that, I'd love to hear more about this. I've talked to several people every day, every week about sheltering and tiny home villages and things like that. So please, that's my cell phone number. Feel free to reach out to me. It's a little tight right now, but I'll get you on the calendar. We'll figure something out, okay? Coffee shop or something. All right. And so I am done, but I want to thank, again, congratulations, Carolyn, for your election to office. Looking forward to working with you, Michael Thompson, and also my colleague over here, Marilyn Smith. Congratulations to you too. Again, I will turn it over to the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I have nothing other than to say that, offer my own congratulations for those who've won last night, and work starts right away on getting information to the two new persons on their new duties. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
And with that, I will adjourn the meeting at 7:35 p.m. Next meeting is Monday, November 18th at 4 p.m. for our work session. Wednesday, November 20th to 2024 at 6 p.m. for our regular